Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Thanks for joining us.
So, we've had a busy couple of days. The early part of our week is usually loaded with seeing people that have reached out to us. And so one of the things that's so cool and so interesting at the same time is how many people that we've gotten to look into mantras. And then when we check back with them or see them on a regular basis, things are getting better and better and better for them. And the mantras are powerful, transformative tools.
Well, they change your brain, they change your attitude, they change the vibration around you.
Completely. And, it's just such a good feeling to know that you're helping people with this. And so, again, Sanskrit is an ancient language. And, Indo-European. Indo is from India, from the Indus, Valley area. And it's really as old a language as we have. And it's been constructed, as we said before, in such a way that each one of the letters affects a chakra petal. And so when we talk about lotuses representing the chakras, and each chakra has a different number of petals to it. And so every sound corresponds to a petal, which means it's literally turning on the chakras.
And the chakras are very, very important. That's how we get the information from the ether into our bodies, so we can know how to be our healthiest self.
Yes. And so, we can do affirmations in English, which have worked for me very well over the years. But there's something about the Sanskrit mantras that are just so powerful and transformative.
Well, yeah, it's the Sanskrit and how they coordinate it with the lotus petals. It's very interesting how scientifically this is put together.
So we wanted to get you guys another one. And this one is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
And that's absolutely beautiful. I'm not going to try to say it right now because I didn't practice it today.
And, you could take things in different ways. And one of the things that we have seen, throughout history is, well, things change, they morph a little bit. Like the characteristics of some of the deities gets absorbed into other deities. Like when we look into the Vedas and the Rig Veda, we see Rudra all over the place, but not really so much reference to Shiva, but Rudra is an aspect of Shiva. And we also have the concept of avatars as well. And so this one is geared towards Vishnu. And Vishnu is the preserver, the preserving energy of our universe.
Very, very important energy for transformation.
It's a 12-syllable mantra. And Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is known as a liberation mantra, Mukti mantra. And this mantra is a spiritual formula for attaining freedom, considered to be the supreme mantra of Lord Vishnu. And it's also used for one of Lord Vishnu's avatars, Krishna. And so when we see representations of Vishnu, you'll usually see him with 4 arms. Sometimes you can see the deities with more arms than that and even more heads as well. There's this as above, so below effect in this multiverse that we live in. And it's reflected in that way. And just when you think you get to the end of everything, there's a whole new beginning.
Oh, just like when you go to kindergarten and you make it to 6th grade and you realize you got to go down the ladder to 7th grade to get to high school, and it just goes on and on and on through all.
And the college and,
Yep.
and on after that, graduate school.
Yep.
It's kind of like that as well. And so both Rama and Krishna are 2 of the most famous of the incarnations of Vishnu. And Vishnu in the Mahabharata, Krishna's talking, and he says, every time when darkness is upon the land, I take a body. And I come back to set the path straight. And, Krishna was the last avatar, although some consider Buddha to be an avatar as well of this preserving force in the universe of Vishnu.
We could use this energy now.
Narayana as well is another name used for him. And when you hear Hari, like Hare Krishna, Hari is again referring to Vishnu.
And that's a fun one too.
Yeah, that is a real fun one that can really lift up your spirits. So as we said, Lord Vishnu is the Lord and preserver of the universe and a part of the Trinity, of the Hindu concept of the highest universal energy that penetrates the matter that exists in this visible world. And another way to look at it is Shiva, as we've talked about, is that which is not. So that which is not form yet, that which is the universal mind, that comes up with the concept of a creation, a manifestation into different densities, so that spirit, the great spirit, as the Native American Indians would say, the great spirit can manifest down through this concept. But it takes the divine feminine to bring it into form, and that's where Shri comes in, and Shri is the goddess energy. And we have a trinity of goddesses as well. We have Lakshmi, which is the goddess of abundance and all good things. Sarasvati, which is the goddess of wisdom. And then Parvati as well, which is the wife of Shiva. And again, these stories change and the different densities and dimensions change. And recognize also that there's, again, just like we were talking about with Christ, there's things he taught the masses in parables. He gave them stories they could relate to. But he talked plainly to the inner core and to the disciples in a much different language. It's the same thing we see in the Hindu tradition. There are stories of like Shiva and Parvati and their love affair and the things that happen to them. And then there's going into what it really means. It's all about consciousness. It's all about how this matrix works, who we really are, which is, ultimately, it's the eternal oneness of everything as well, that indwelling Atman, which is inside of us. Now the Atman is that part of us which we could look at as the eternal soul, so to speak, which is indestructible. And then we also have the term Jiva, which is more of an individual soul. So there's a lot to look to with this. It's not so simple. There's always different layers to look at. We could look at the stories, and we could get some basic, truths, some nice morals, how we should behave, things like that. And then we could look deeper into, a whole different layer of exactly what we are and what consciousness is.
And there's so much to offer if you can find the open-mindedness to explore these beings.
So to complete my previous thought, Shiva is that which is not. So it's the mind. It's that universal consciousness that is without form. Yet it takes the goddess. Now we could look at Shiva and Shakti there. It's through the goddess energy, or we could look to Sophia of the Gnostic traditions. The goddess energy is what manifests things into form. And then you could look at Vishnu as really the same essence as Shiva, but in the material universe, maintaining the material universe.
Very, very important to recognize that.
Because it's said in many of the parables, to use a biblical term, that we see, the stories that we get from all these different Hindu books, that Shiva and Vishnu are ultimately one.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are.
So we could, again, Shiva, that which is not, that's on the other side, where there's no manifestation, just pure consciousness. We could view it as the void also in some traditions and philosophies. It takes the divine goddess energy to make the manifest universe, and then we have Vishnu as the preserver of the universe. And so this mantra is thought to take away our karma as well.
Well, which is really nice.
Exactly. So when you look at it, you could take it on one level and say this means Om, which is the divine sound of the universe. I bow to Lord Vasudeva. And now that could be, you could be using that term to reference to Vishnu who's also known again as Narayana or Narayanaya. And also you could take it as salutations to the indweller, that which is within us, who is omnipresent, omnipotent, immortal, and divine. So we could be referring also to that deity which resides in us.
It's beautiful.
It is. So what you're doing is you're cultivating the higher self. You're cultivating, the Lord of the universe, and that purity, trueness, and righteousness that's indwelling in us as that Lord of the universe in one specific finite body.
And you're helping to free yourself.
You are. So we wanted to share that with you. There's a beautiful video here by Deva Premal singing this, and it is absolutely beautiful. And if you haven't heard her before, it's a blessing. And again, Om represents the primordial, sacred, eternal, divine sound heard in deep meditation. It's a strong inner experience that the yogis hold with great reverence. It's believed that as creation began, the divine took the form of the first vibration manifesting as sound, Om. Namo represents total self-giving, perfect surrender, and that means, surrender to the divine that's within you. So that's letting go of the little ego that's concerned with all sorts of material things in the world, and basically saying, I surrender myself to the highest path. I trust in my higher self. I trust that which is divine in me to manifest its will through me, because it's truly my pure intention and highest path.
And we definitely want to cultivate that vibration.
Bhagavate represents a way to worship that supreme being. Nevertheless, no word can describe the supreme spirit that is all-powerful, individual, and the cause of all things. And that gets me thinking about the Tao of Taoism, because that which can be named is not the eternal Tao. So it's so above and beyond everything it cannot be named. Because when you name something, then you're making it finite. Yeah. But again, we use certain words to just represent something in an imperfect way. Vasudevaya, on the macrocosmic level, Vasudeva is the only and infinite Brahman. Brahman with an M. Brahma is the creator God, which interestingly enough is not really worshipped in traditional Hinduism. And that gets you thinking about the demiurge. It's interesting. And Brahman is the void. So Brahman is kind of referencing, again, that's referencing Shiva, which is that which is not. That which is formless and without any characteristic. That which is really only potential, not manifestation yet. And Vasudeva is an alternative name for Lord Krishna, an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, the preserver. And Krishna is a fascinating subject in and of itself. The obvious correspondences between Krishna and Christ. And again, Krishna left this realm, I think it was 3102 BC, at the beginning of the Kali Yuga. The Kali Yuga, the Dark Age, starts when Krishna left. So it's a liberation mantra, as we said, and chanting this mantra with sincere heart frees your mind and spirit from negative patterns in this life and helps us to realize ourselves as manifestations of transcendent divinity. And that is a beautiful thing. And as we chant these Sanskrit mantras, our normal perception of the world dissolves, and we elevate to the spiritual fields of energy represented by the sounds. And, please do check out this one by Deva Premal. And, if you're so inspired to, look into her and her husband, Mitten. They are wonderful people. And if you watch them, the bliss that comes off them is just intoxicating.
Oh, it is beautiful. I agree.
Such peace, such absolute peace, love, and compassion. So, guys, I want to thank everybody that is supporting us on both Ko-Fi, where you could do a one-time donation, or you could do monthly, just like Patreon. And Ko-Fi doesn't take anything from us. They don't take any cut, which is beautiful and appreciated. Or also on Patreon, and we couldn't do it without your support.
We are so grateful. Thank you.
God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.